we fight to gain what we cannot take with us. It's in our nature.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Assassin's Creed Syndicate 100% sync video walkthrough. This is sequence 3. It is entitled Freedom of the Press. So we're playing as Evie, and we're talking to is Alexander Bell, I think it is, the guy who created the telephone. There's a really forced, shoehorned, awful piece of dialogue just there, where he's saying what the name is, and she's like, well, you should just call it the telephone, right guys? And I never like that kind of stuff, really don't. Like, who the hell is she? Like, lead marketer, head of corporate branding? No, she's just some random person who knows nothing about what she's talking about, and she comes up with the name for the invention that it's going to have. Yes, that's how all industry works. But I hate hammy dialogue like that. I don't like dialogue that's overly referencey to the point of being like, can you at least tell your own story instead of reminding us how awesome the first one was? That really bugs me too. But this is introducing you to the grapple mechanic, and I need to talk about it because it's kind of interesting. If you approach this game like you have the Arkham series, where you know you can go massive distances and cross places really quickly and it's really fun, you're probably going to come and clash heads with Syndicate because it just doesn't work the same. It's intended to complement the traversal, not replace it, and personally I don't think it would have ever replaced it because there are moments where it's just easier to climb. There will be moments where you'll prefer to climb. But it would have been nice if it would always work, as opposed to doing what it did just then, where instead of going forwards, it went behind me and up onto a building. So you're going to get to an idea of just how this thing works. The detection on it, incredibly sluggish. There are times where it's almost like the game doesn't want you to use it, yet what's the point in having it? You know, the whole point in this thing is to do weird stuff like this. We're going up a zipline thing, because she's got some kind of, I don't know, hand tool that lets her do it. I'm not questioning the physics on this, I just wish it worked better. Like, at this moment, look at that. It can go a distance of that, you know, that distance. I've done it before, but at that moment, nothing. So instead you come to this one, and then you can get to these next ones, and did you see how quick it was to proc just then? Like, it popped up, it let me do it, it almost looks like it could work, and it procced a moment ago just then, procced again up there. But there are times when it just doesn't, and I have absolutely no idea why, and I'm curious if they'll go in and rework it a little, because they did a lot of improvements to Unity post, you know, its release, and I actually played Unity when it had all been patched, and I thought that game was, you know, better than I thought it was going to be.
That should do it.
So I'm curious to see what they do with this, because performance-wise isn't an issue. The frame rate does drop, but because it's a comfortable 30 and you can't do nothing too crazy with the camera, this is a game where I don't think you notice the frame rate as much, because your character's movement is so sluggish and animation heavy that you don't feel the precision needed for the higher frame rate game. So I don't think it's one of those that would really benefit that much from 60, even though I do think every game would be better that way. Like, there are no moments in this game where it's like, well, if the frame rate was higher I would have kicked more ass, because it just isn't really designed that way. And you're going to see me fight here with the climbing mechanic of going up and down the slanted roofs, because for some reason it's really easy to slide down a roof you didn't mean to do. But all you have to do now is move back towards the way we came, so I'm just going to show you the path that I took. I would have loved to have used the grapple more, but as you can see, it's not giving me anything to grapple to. It's literally not saying L, B anymore. It was there for a second and now it's gone. Like, it simply isn't good enough for my tastes, and maybe Ubisoft wanted it to be sporadic and only work, you know, so often. Like, I don't know. It's really strange. I think it'd make more sense to me if you could only use it once every minute, like if the ability itself had a cooldown. But I've used it 5 times in the space of 10 seconds, and then there are other times where I can't use it twice in a row in 30 seconds, so it goes against my nature of wanting to know how things work inside of games, and then being able to apply, you know, creatively my ambition to those said mechanics, whereas here, you just really can't. And I don't know if there's an upgrade that you get later on that allows you to do more crazy things, but I really hope there is, because I think they've missed an opportunity here. It works every so often, and when it does, it's really fun. So just imagine if you could get it to be consistently fun. I think it would be so much better. But right now we have to loot 200 metal components, and the challenge is to air assassinate a guard from a zipline. So this is a pretty cool mission, because it's nice and simple, and it can be done quickly. And I'm on the carriages, which I've already mentioned. I really enjoy the carriages because I don't think I've ever played a game where they controlled well. And in this game, they literally control like Mario Kart. And, you know, to a lot of simulation and realistic driving game enthusiasts, they'll probably hate that. But to somebody that likes stupid racing games that don't control like real cars, it's right up my alley. I'm a massive fan of it. Just like the visuals of this game. This game is so beautiful in motion, guys. It truly is a splendor to watch. It might not be the most interesting thing all the time, but every so often it has its moments. And if you're wondering where I am, I've just finished sequence 6, and I believe that there are 9 sequences. So I'm going to zipline across here, and I'm going to try and do this. Once I've done that, it gives me my challenge, and then I can proceed to drop a smoke bomb and beat this guy up. On previous Assassin's Creed before Unity, if you dropped a smoke bomb, you would be able to execute everybody, and it was a really overpowered way of clearing an entire room of idiots really quickly, and I always enjoyed it, because I don't think the combat ever worked as well as it could have, and it just slowed the game down. So with the smoke bomb, you could mitigate this. However, on this game, they've gone the Unity way as well, where they've kind of nerfed the smoke bombs, but it's not that bad of a thing. My advice to you, if you're ever having trouble, is if you need to become anonymous to do something, drop a smoke bomb. Even if people are close to you, it generally gives you the immunity needed to trigger a cutscene, open something, or get away from something. It is an incredibly powerful tool, and there are a couple of occasions later on where I just wasn't thinking of using them, which would have probably helped. So I'm going to give you, hopefully in the commentary, some advice to mitigate my failings, which over this past weekend have been many. I've just actually recorded the entire legendary solo campaign for Halo 5, and it's a really tricky game, and I think the walkthrough's probably going to do really well for a number of reasons that I'm going to talk about in those videos. But I died a lot on that game, and you're going to die too, so fingers crossed you don't die too much and get too disheartened. But there are a few checkpoints that really test your patience. The good news, the longest I was ever stuck was about 2 hours, and that is on the final boss, which I suppose, if you're going to get stuck anywhere, the final boss is always a good place to be stuck. However, the mechanic on that fight is... I'm going to talk in some real depth on those videos, but this is not that game, this is Assassin's Creed. We need to reach Bell's workshop, so do you see when I look up like this? All I want to do is grapple. You'll know when I can grapple because on the north of the screen there will be a prompt for it. There it was then, for half a second. There was no prompt just then, but look how far it's just took. Look at the distance! How does this work? Look how far that just took me. Like, that's 2 shots by the way, because I did not see icons. If you're doing the drinking game on this, you're going to die. You're going to straight up die because the game is just really confusing when it comes to that. Right now, I've had it up there for ages, the prompt. Look how long that's staying there for. It's working perfectly. It's working as it should. Then you look up and it vanishes. Irony. I'm on the wrong part of the building, if you're wondering. You have to go over the roof. But I'm going to try not to bang on the grapple mechanic too much because I seem to be the only person who has an issue with it. Hell, even DSP complimented it, so maybe I'm just insane. But thank you for watching. That was Freedom of the Press, and you take care now.